Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be here today. It is certainly my pleasure to share with you this morning. I feel the energy in this space. Do you feel the energy in this space, those of you who are here? And I know that same life, that same spirit is moving in all of you who are tuned in virtually. The spirit that is here alive in this community is so palpable for me. Walking in this space today and feeling this energy of so many of you who come into this space, and to bring that energy into this space is so powerful. So thank you for that, and thank you for blessing me and Jay with that and giving us the opportunity to experience it with you. What better place could there be for me to spend the last day of my sabbatical? Right? The last day of a 6-week sabbatical that I have been on. And I don't mean just on Hawaii, but certainly right here in this place. What a great time for me to complete this 6-week sabbatical. So I had great plans for my sabbatical. This wasn't included in it necessarily as I planned it, right? But sometimes Spirit has a different plan for us. So I did plan. I had this great plan for my sabbatical. I'd been planning it for a long time. I'd been planning this sabbatical really for over a year, and I thought, I felt something moving in me, something longing new to be expressed, something new to come alive within me. And I was planning the sabbatical as a time to connect with Spirit, to listen, to be in nature, to do some writing, to do those things that really inspire me. I was going to spend a lot of time alone, and I did do that. I had the opportunity to do that. But then in the midst of that, and right before I left on sabbatical, the opportunity to come to Hawaii sort of presented itself. And it was a perfect timing, but then I thought, wow, what do I do? So this was this time of questioning. Has anybody ever been in that time of sort of questioning, is this the right thing? Am I supposed to do this? Where am I supposed to go? What's the decision to make? I'm guessing that anybody in this room probably has, and anybody listening probably has been in that place at some time. What is mine to do? What is Spirit calling me to do? What am I to say yes to? And so imagine me I was doing my sabbatical in North Georgia, where it's very hot and humid, if you have never been there. And I decided, the first day I was there, I went on a hike in the forest, by myself in the forest. And I thought, okay, this will be a perfect time for me to connect with the energy of the forest, the energy of the life in the forest, the energy of God that expresses through all of that. Be a perfect time for me to be in this energy and to question, to ask, to connect with what is moving, what is mine to do. And that was my prayer, in addition to my prayer of not being eaten by a bear. That was first and foremost. But secondly was, guide me, show me, is this mine to do? And what I heard, I'll let you in on a little secret. I have these conversations with Spirit, with God in my head. I'm sure none of you experienced that, right? We have these talks, the head talks to the heart, and the God within us, right? The God within us, that guiding voice. And so I said to this voice in this forest as I'm walking around, what is mine to do? And I heard, just say yes. Just say yes. And I said to that voice, well, what am I saying yes to? What am I to say yes to? And of course, that wisdom within says, just say yes to your desire. Say yes to your desire. And then, my mind says, well, I don't yet know what I desire. I'm not clear on what I desire. Anybody ever been there? Right? I don't know what I desire. And that voice said, yes, you do. I do. And that voice said, you know what you desire? What have you always desired? What does everybody desire? You desire to know yourself. You desire to know the Christ that you are. You desire to know yourself in unity and oneness with the divine life that is moving and expressing in you and through everything that is around you. Your desire is to know that, to connect with that, to embody that, and to be that in the world. Your desire, and my desire, I believe, is one. And that is to know our oneness. To experience that oneness. So I said, well, how is that going to show up? And the voice said, you know. And I'm like, no, I don't. And the voice said, yes, you want to align. You want to say yes to every aspect of the divine that you know is the vibrational frequency of the God of your being and the God of all. Which is love, which is peace, which is harmony, which is order, which is beauty, which is all of these divine ideas that we want to experience, not because it's something outside of us, not because it's something we need to look for, but because it is what we are. It is who we are. We are the beauty of God. We are the love of God. We are the peace of God. Sometimes we forget that. And so the voice said, just say yes to that. Guess what my next question was? How do I say yes, really? Really, how do I say yes to that voice, to that spirit, to those qualities of God? And you might guess the answer that came to me was through prayer. Prayer is the way that you can connect with that energy of God. Now we know in unity we don't teach to pray to a God outside of ourselves, that we are the expression of that in and through and as us, and that moves and has its being, as Paul said, is what we live and move and have our being in, and it is what lives and moves and has its being as each of us. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said that prayer is the place where the mind of man, or I would say the mind of humankind, meets the mind of God. But I think I would go further, and I believe Mr. Fillmore would support that, to say that it really is that place where we recognize there is no other mind. There is only one mind. And your mind is that mind, my mind is that mind, and we surrender to that mind. So in my way of thinking, that's really what the ultimate of prayer is. So I continued to question. Well, I really want a plan. I really want to know a plan. Anybody ever go there? I want you to give me a step-by-step plan. And then I remembered this quote that I heard recently from Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith at Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. He said, "You do not need to construct a plan, tactic, or strategy. Just make yourself ready. And the unfolding intelligence of life itself will carry you to your destiny, or at least destination." So I heard that and I thought, okay, I don't need to construct a plan, but I want to connect. I want to say yes to God. To say yes to the divine. That divine life. Make yourself ready. How do we make ourselves ready, and how do we say yes? And you know what came to me as I sat with that and contemplated that was the words that Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus the Christ, gave us. And I thought, in the Lord's Prayer, what we know is the Lord's Prayer. And I thought, interesting. I've never thought of the Lord's Prayer as a prayer of yes to God, necessarily. I've never thought of it in that way, but when I think of it in that way, first of all, I thought, that's just too traditional for me. But then as I sat with it, I thought, wow, I think I get it. Because when Jesus was asked, how do we pray? He said, pray in this way. Pray in this manner. He didn't say, pray these particular words. He didn't necessarily say, these are the words that you are to pray when you pray, but he said, pray in this way. So as I approach it from that perspective, when I look at our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. I thought, how is that a path to saying yes? And so I want to share that, what came to me about that with you this morning, in hopes that as I share it with you, it might resonate with you in some way. That I heard our Father, Creator, all that is, the allness of life, that is in and through everything, the source of all that is, our creative life force energy, universe, whatever word or phrase works for you to associate with that, to invoke that within our own consciousness, within my own consciousness, to know I'm connected to that, to know I'm a part of that. To invoke the conscious awareness of that life moving in and through and as all that is. And I can attune to that. I can say yes to that. That energy whose nature is wholeness. Hallowed be thy name. Holy is thy nature. Of all the peace, all the harmony, all the joy, all the life is right here, right now. Our Father, who art in the heavens, who art all around us in the ethers, as Charles Fillmore might say. I choose to say yes to that. I choose to say yes to my connection and my embodiment, not just a connection, but an embodiment of that life, that energy, the power and presence. Thy kingdom, what is that kingdom? Again, it is the peace, the love, the joy, the harmony, the unity. That come to earth. That be done. Thy will be done on earth, just as it is in the unformed, in the potential impossibility that exists for all of us. When I think about God's will, I like this idea that the will of God is for you and for me to know who we are. The only will of the divine is for you to awaken to who and what you truly are and to live that. The only will of God, of the divine for me, is for me to awaken to the truth of my being and to live that. How I live that and how you live that is going to be unique to each of us. But our opportunity is to awaken to it, to live it to the best of our ability. And through living it to the best of our ability, then you and I are the ones who are here to bring forth that kingdom upon the earth. So as we say yes to that, as I say yes to the will of God, yes, I want to know who I am. Yes, I choose to know my truth. Yes, and I choose to be the one to embody that and bring that forth upon this plane. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in me. Thy will be done on earth, just as it is in this consciousness of heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Say yes to what is given to us in every moment. Say yes to the bread of life. Say yes to Spirit. Say yes to the inspiration that comes to us through many different avenues that we're sometimes blind to. Say yes to the beauty of nature. Yes to Spirit through all things. Yes, and let me be inspired and fed by that. Say yes to the sustenance that appears for me in every way, to feed me physically, to feed me emotionally, to feed me mentally. But part of that saying yes to the daily bread for me is only saying yes to what sustains me, what I need in the moment. And trusting that it will be provided. You know, when the children of Israel were going through the desert in Egypt, they were given manna. Manna that was sustenance for them. But then they got greedy and they got afraid and they wanted to hoard it and it spoiled, right? So I think our opportunity is to be aware of how we connect with what feeds us. To use what is ours, what we need in the moment to sustain us. Give us this day our daily bread, and it's all around us, if we're willing to avail ourselves of it. And forgive us our trespasses. What is this idea of forgiveness? I know we talk about this idea of untying the knot that we allow to bind us, the energy that we allow to bind us. I say yes to forgiveness. I say yes to freeing myself. I say yes in the moment to letting go of that guilt and the shame. I say yes to letting go of blaming another person. I say yes to resentment. So we're letting go of resentment. Sometimes I say yes to resentment, but I try to say yes to letting go of resentment and blame and guilt and all of that. What am I saying yes to? If I forgive, I say yes to letting go and forgiving and coming in to the vibrational frequency of the divine Christ that is my truth and is your truth. And in that, we cannot, if we are in the vibrational frequency of Christ, we cannot hold another outside of that frequency. It is not possible. So when we say yes to Christ, the Christ of our being, we must say yes to the Christ of the being of each and every other person and all things. So forgive us, and in that moment we are willing to forgive, to let go, to free ourselves. I say yes to forgiveness. And lead us not into temptation. You know, Charles Fillmore said it should have said, leave us not in temptation. Leave us not in temptation. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get tempted. Sometimes I get tempted not to align to that. Sometimes I get tempted. I love the story of Jesus in the wilderness after his baptism where he was tempted by Satan. And we know we don't believe there is a power outside of us called Satan, but it is that within us that tempts us not to be in alignment with our truth. To serve the ideas of the ego that want power, that want privilege, that want position, that want money, that want all of these other things that may not be in service to our higher self. And what we also know about that is that we can choose when we're aware, as I know many of you have participated in some of the shadow work, when we're aware of our shadow, we can choose to not succumb to that part of ourselves. We can choose to say yes to the higher self of us. We can say yes to the Christ of us and what that means for us. I say yes as I allow that to be my focus. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. We also know there's no power for evil. We know there's one power, there's one presence, and that is God, the good, the absolute good, and God is love. I like to think of evil, what we call evil, as an effect, not a cause. There is no cause, power that causes evil. Evil is what we call the acts or the effects of a belief in separation, of aligning to something that is different, something that we're not, and the things that result from that. So when we're aligned, when we say yes to the Christ, when we say yes to who we are not left in temptation. We're not left in temptation, and we are delivered in that moment from evil. Because we're only choosing to align and speak and talk and act and be the very expression of God, of Christ. For thine is the kingdom. That is the kingdom and the power and the glory. It's the only power. It's the only glory. It is the only kingdom. It is the only truth. And we know that, don't we? That is the only truth of us and of all creation. I said once before this weekend that I don't believe this is an illusion, but I believe it can be illusory. It is illusory. Tries to make us convinced that this means something more than it does. Our only truth, our only power, the only glory is that divine kingdom. And we can say yes to that. We can say yes to that. And as we say yes to that, as we say yes to Spirit, as we say yes to God, as we say yes to the Christ within us, we are aligning and tuning with that. And then we become a conscious expression of that. We become the ones who are bringing that forth into this world. We become the expression of the kingdom. We become the expression of the glory of the divine, the light and the love and the peace and the joy and the harmony and the peace. Because what I know about that is even though I don't like it sometimes, it's not all about me. Right? It's not all about me. In fact, it's not at all about me. When we get right down to it, it's not about me. And it's not really about you. It's about our willingness to be the presence, to embody our Christ truth, and to express that in the world through everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we think. Because I truly believe that you and I are the second coming of the Christ. And that you and I are the ones to finish what the Master, Teacher Jesus began. He was very clear that it wasn't his to do. He was here to teach us, as are many masters here to teach us. He was here to remind us of our truth. But it's our opportunity, yours and mine, to bring that love and that peace and that harmony and that unity here, wherever we are, wherever we find ourselves, in every opportunity that we have, whatever shows up for us, to say yes to Spirit, to say yes to the Christ of our being, to say yes to God, to say yes to all the qualities that we know are part of that which we truly are. And so I encourage you, if you care to go back and explore the Lord's Prayer a little bit, maybe from that perspective if it works for you. But if not, find what does work for you. To say yes. To say yes to Spirit, your divine expression of God. So I invite you now to close your eyes as we lead into a time of meditation. Take a deep breath. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper. My heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper. My heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. So right where you are, I invite you to settle into this time of quiet contemplation. As we allow ourselves to breathe deeply into our hearts, into that place where we are ever connected to that divine life, Spirit, moving in and through and as us. And as we breathe into that place through this power of presence, we say yes to that life, yes to the divine, yes to what is moving in us and through us and as us. Yes to the Christ of our being. And as we continue to breathe into that space, we listen. Listen for that still small voice of the divine that is always calling us to our highest and best unfolding. In the silence, we surrender.